right, nerds. Bet you incels didn't think we could get any more beta since our last video. But today, we're reviewing the Dream Theater back catalog. Studio albums only, because these guys have a lot of live and bootleg shit.
I hope by Dream Theater you mean the outfit that existed between 1985 and 2010, and not the sorry excuse for a band we see now bringing shame to the great name of Dream Theater. And dare I say it, America.
Fuck's sake, Donald. Does every tier list we do have to start with your antics? Just because your golden boy Portnoy left the band doesn't make them any less legitimate as a musical tour de force.
That's where you're wrong, Joseph of Catnapathea. Losing Kevin Moore was a heavy blow, but they still managed to make some classic tunes after that. Once Mike left the picture, whatever quality, whatever soul the band still had, abruptly and regrettably disappeared.
We're here to judge the music on its own merit, not who was or wasn't in the band at the time of conception.
Listen, I'm incredibly passionate about this topic. Nobody knows Dream Theater better than me, folks. Believe me, and as far as I'm concerned, Kevin Moore was the dream and Mike Portnoy was the theater. Without those crucial aspects, what do you have left? Until people stop backing the indefensible, soulless cash grab that is modern Dream Theater, we will never move forward as a nation.
You'd know all about shameless cash grabs. Hey, Donnie, how are those NFTs working out for you?
Jesus. 2 minutes in and you two are bickering like school children. I will not hesitate to pull the plug on this if you can't be respectful. Got it? Michelle's dick may be bigger than mine, but I still wear the pants here. With that, let's look at the first album, When Dream and Day Unite. You can see they had potential, but it wasn't yet realized. Plus, that singer is somehow worse than Labrie.
I won't have you say a bad word about Kevin James. That dude is the voice of DT, and haters can GTFO. Plus, Charlie Dominici gave us the famous Majesty symbol, which has graced every album cover since and is irrevocably tied to the band's image. For that contribution, it should at least get a B tier.
No fucking way, Jose. This album sounds like garbage. It's budget rush for D&D nerds and needs to be in D tier.
Yeah, we're not ranking albums based on their logo, so I can't give it points for that. I think D tier may even be too high for this one compared to their later work. It suffers from some serious phase issues in the mix, and the songs are kind of weird. All in all, this is a pretty scrappy, forgettable entry in the DT catalog.
Rush wish they could play this fast. Say what you will, but The Killing Hand goes hard and is a taste of what's to come in terms of Petrucci-penned sci-fi writing. I will concede, though, that compared to other Dream Theater masterpieces, this album doesn't hold a candle.
Okay, then next up is Images and Words. In my stately opinion, this is what they'll always be remembered for, and it is therefore S-tier worthy.
Fuck yeah, Barry. Images on top as it should be. The birth of a dream. Not only do we get the debut of James Labrie's angelic vocals, but we get some of their best songwriting, period. Metropolis, Part 1. Take the Time, Under a Glass Moon. Really, I could just name every track. They're all that good.
It's a real shame that Engineer used the snare triggers such that the dynamics of Portnoy's playing were flattened, but it's actually such a huge part of that album's signature sound that I ain't even mad. Despite the dated feel of some of those synth patches, there is still an ineffable and oxymoronic timelessness to these songs.
Beautiful images with those words there, Joe. This album is rock solid. Learning to Live is so underrated, straight up.
This really does feel like their most cohesive album to me. Everything is in its proper place. For better or worse, there's nothing on this earth quite like the sound of Dream Theater's Images and Words.
Truly a miracle and one of the greatest artistic feats of the 20th century.
We could sit here all day and sing its praises, but let's press on to the 1994 follow-up, Awake. This is like the estranged, edgy cousin of Images. It's darker. It's longer.
It's shit.
Take your meds, son. You're talking smack. We are thrust into the gritty world of Awake with a formidable 6 o'clock, still one of their best songs to date. Labrie's vocals on this album are also stronger, more flavorful. So many classic tracks on this one. Lie Scarred, The Mirror.
Say what you will about it, but dude, I actually really rate Space Dive best.
Good shit, Barry. That's because Kevin Moore is a literal genius. That song cops a lot of flack for its inclusion, but it's so honoring for the guy who wrote their best songs to make the final statement on his final album with them. That's some bass shit there, boys.
For real? That song is whack as fuck. Whoever this dude is, he's not much of a songwriter.
Oh, okay, then I suppose you don't like Pull Me Under? Or 6 o'clock or Metropolis Part 1? Because those are all Kevin Moore. Fucking pleb.
Would you stop sucking Kev Mo's dick? He didn't even write Metropolis, you stooge. That was a Petrucci number.
Look, who cares? He wasn't that important because they moved on and made better music without him. For every certified banger on this album, it's bloated with naff shit like Silent Man and Innocence Faded, which for me keeps it from rising anywhere above C tier.
It's an easy A tier. I mean, it's got fucking erotomania, for Christ's sake. What do you think, Barry?
Look, I think Images and Words is a hard act to follow. To go from being nobody to having your song on MTV 6 times a day is quite an adjustment, and the expectations on what will succeed it are almost unfair. That said, in the cold light of day, Awake is good, but it's not great. Let's slot it in B. It has some strong songs, but that whole mind beside itself thing is a bit meandering and overall is a bit inconsistent.
This is a sad day for Dream Theater fans.
Next up is the often overlooked A Change of Seasons.
This one lurches a bit. It lumbers around the place and is a textbook example of Portnoy's self-indulgence taken too far. C tier.
What fucking planet were you raised on? Did they listen to music there? A Change of Seasons is essential listening and is everything we love about Dream Theater in a single song. Heaviness, time signature changes, lofty vocals, and a touching sentiment. At the risk of saying too much, it's more progressive than your politics will ever be.
It's rude, but I'm with Donnie on this one. You've got Derek Sherinian's first appearance on the keys, and Kevin Moore's departure left big shoes to fill, which thankfully Derek seemed to live up to.
Seem to? Oh, just you wait for what's to come, Barry boy. That man is a filthy synth freak in the best of ways. Anyways, A Change of Seasons is an absolute landmark in the DT discography. Everyone gets to showcase their talents, and it's prior to when they just became a pastiche of what they once were. It's moody, and it's fun. It's a straight-up classic A-tier Dream Theater EP.
It's just a bit obnoxious to label it as an EP when it's longer than most albums. Who the fuck do these guys think they are? What do you reckon, Obama?
For me, this is about as good as it gets after Images and Words. Probably an A tier.
Are you forgetting the whole second side of this quote-unquote EP? That absolutely mixed bag of covers. It's like, we get it, you guys can play. Your influences are diverse. We can go to a concert for this kind of special experience. Committing it to an album? Sorry. An EP just feels a bit rich, don't you think? If they'd have just done the title track and called it an EP, that would make sense to me, and I'd bump it up to B tier. But it's just a bit janky to be on the same level as some of their more polished material.
Look, I'll admit, I'm not the biggest fan of the covers, but come on. The big medley is exceptional. God help us when we get to hear your opinion on their 2010s material. It's painful, but Barry, I'll settle for B tier for the sake of moving on.
Didn't know you knew the definition of the word compromise, Don, let alone exemplify the ability to put it into practice. Change of Seasons is going in B tier. Up next is 1997's Falling into Infinity.
This album has been so overlooked, it's sad. New Millennium really articulated that feeling we all had around the time of Y2K. This is such an exciting album for me.
Dude, this album is just so confused, it doesn't know what it wants to be. You can tell the band was really struggling at this point. You Not Me is hot trash.
That's because of their label, Joseph. You know deep in your heart that DT didn't want to write that song.
Maybe you could just accept that your favorite band writes shitty songs.
Come on, Joe, don't be ignorant. Their contract with Atlantic was strained when they failed to capitalize on the success of Pull Me Under. Those late 90s execs wanted a return on their investment and so got Petrucci to write a song with quote-unquote hitmaker Desmond Child, and the result was a goddamn flop of a song. So contrived, so empty, and sadly a premonition of what was to come, though not for another 15 years or so.
Keep your Portnoy purism out of our tier list, Don.
Listen, Orange Man, Hollow Years is dog shit.
So is Take Away My Pain.
And Anna Lee.
Boys, it doesn't even matter. We have the John Mayung masterpiece Trial of Tears here. That's ground for an immediate A tier, not to mention Hell's Kitchen into Lines in the Sand, which is some of their all-time best writing on God.
That is pretty dope. But the album suffers for its more labored components. It's a low B for me, verging on high C.
Barry, I think you're forgetting that this album has the most diverse sonic palette of the entire DT catalog. Chapman stick, nylon string, Rhodes, Mellotron, slide guitar, the talk box, the backing vocals. Some really great sonic textures that often aren't appreciated. Kevin Shirley did such a good job producing this album. It is undoubtedly the best mixed Dream Theater album, period. Let's not forget the playful element that Derek Sherinian brought to the keys on this album. This man's synth tone had fucking balls, which is more than can ever be said for that soy boy Jordan Rudess.
You're ever the contrarian, Donald, but where does it get you? Who wants to root for this stupid-ass album anyway? It's garbage, D tier for me.
Okay, I think that makes the average a C for this one, which feels right.
You boys don't know a thing about quality. You just do what you're told and follow popular opinion, and it's why this country is the laughingstock of the world.
Can we keep the politics out of it?
Truth hurts,
What's
don't
next,
it, Joe?
Barry?
Next would be the 1999 album Metropolis Part 2, Scenes from a Memory.
Wow, what an accomplishment. Before Rudess really got his talons in and ruined this band, I think I like this one because they actually did a lot of the writing for it with our boy Derek on keys.
No matter which way you slice it, this album is a literal masterpiece. I mean, seriously, what a fucking album. Such a cool concept with the past lives and hypnosis and what have you. It's a definite high point in their career and an instant S tier. All killer, no filler. The introduction of Rudess on the keys legitimized this as the iconic early 2000s DT lineup.
Fun fact, he actually played with the band back in '94 after Moore left, but thankfully didn't go for it, which means we got to really experience the playful side of Dream Theater. Thanks to Derek in the Infinity era, that straight up wouldn't have happened if this jerk-off joined the band there and then...
Get the fuck over yourself, you whiny gas bag. That era of Dream Theater is by far the worst. And if it weren't for Jordan, I doubt they would have gone on much longer. I like this album, but that Pink Floyd ripoff kind of takes away from it for me. You know what I'm talking about.
What are you, heartless as well as spineless? How can you not be moved to tears by The Spirit Carries On? Make sure to play that at my funeral, boys, BTW.
I mean, it just doesn't grab me. It's been done before and better. I get that these guys wear their influences on their sleeve and it's cute or whatever. That just puts this album at a low A tier for me. It's still really good, but it just doesn't really jam like a true classic album should.
I'll admit, as a package, these songs and the concept are solid, but loses points for the mix and the introduction of Rudess. B tier.
You can't rate the album based off of which band member is or isn't present, jackass.
Can and will. That goofy-ass ragtime shit in Dance of Eternity sticks out like a sore thumb and is sadly telling of what this band would become.
I don't want to hear any more about your opinions on Dream Theater keys players, sticking it in high A tier, so let's just leave it there and move along. Now, I recognize that most of the people watching this video don't have the attention span to watch much more, so let's go cliffhanger mode on this one and come back to it when we're all feeling refreshed. Sound good?
Go off, King.
Whatever. We've done all the important albums anyways. I'm only coming back next time just so I can see how cursed your takes on modern Dream Theater really are. I hope I'm very much mistaken, but we're talking about the opinions of a couple of Democrats here, so, you know.
God, you're insufferable sometimes, Donald. I'm glad we're calling it here. But do stay tuned for next time when we go to town on the rest of the Dream Theater discography. God bless you all, and God bless America.
Amen.
Amen.
Without love, without faith.